Okay, I have to literally tell you what happened on my TikTok live this week. So because I was explaining like how we move from the 3D to the 4D to the 5D, and in the middle of explaining it, a phrase fell out my mouth. And I literally stopped my TikTok live. I said, "You didn't start at 0. You started in the womb. And your womb came with a wound. From the womb to the womb. From the womb to the wound." And I made a mental note right there, mid-life, circle back to this, because this is the podcast episode I've been dying to create. This is the one that explains why you flinch at money, why you flinch at love, or even can't even rest. You don't even realize that rest is revenue, okay? And why none of it started with you. So today we're going to go from the womb to the wound to the warrior, all the way to becoming the fucking signal. And by the end, you're going to understand something that might make you cry in your car. You're not just crying their fears, you're carrying their prayers. So stay with me, baby, because we have to go from the womb to the wound. If you're new here, welcome to Manifesting Miracles. I am the prestigious Michelle Juanita Lamont with over 1 million downloads, top 5% podcast on the planet. And if this show has ever cracked something open in you, please leave a 5-star review, or if you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe and drop an emoji in the comment. 30 seconds max. That helps more people just like you. And right now, there's somebody out there about to blame themselves for a pattern that they inherited. And your review and comments is how they found this episode instead. Be their miracle right now. Okay, deep breath. I'm stopped up. I know. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. I'm saying womb. Okay, W-O-M-B. So the womb is, so here's what I was thinking about in this meditation this morning. From the second that your mother was pregnant with us, she was already living a very specific life. Maybe she was in a happy marriage. Maybe her own mother was her first bully. Maybe she was brave enough or even crazy enough to leave her country to chase a dream of giving her child something she never had a chance at. Maybe you were born with wealth. Maybe you were born into divorce. Maybe you were conceived out of violence. Maybe the house you grew up in was loud or eerily silent, or it was like mine, walking on eggshells. And here's the part nobody told you. You didn't just inherit their eye color or their hair. You inherited her environment, your mother's stress, her fears, her survival strategies, the chemistry of her life. Whether you ever lived in it or not, before your first breath, you were already soaking in someone else's storm. Not because she was bad. How do I put this? She wasn't failing you. She didn't even know. She didn't know she was teaching you. Somebody hands a pregnant person a manual that says, by the way, your nervous system is going to be your child's curriculum. No, but it is. It is. Now, I don't want you to take my word, because this isn't just spiritual anymore. This is epigenetics. The study of how life experience changes the way that your genes get expressed. That is the science of epigenetics. It's how it gets passed down. So let me give you 3 examples, 3 studies. First, there's this researcher named Rachel Yadua, if I butchered it, from Mount Sinai. She studied the Holocaust survivors and their children, and she found that children who never even spent one day in a detention camp, never lived that extreme horror, carried altered stress hormones. Actual biology changes in the stress gene. The trauma left fingerprints on people who were never even there. Let that sink in for a second. And then it passed the scorecard down to the next one and the next one and the next one. 2, there's a scholar named Joy DeGruy, DEGRUY. She spent years mapping the same kind of inheritance that shows up in the descendants of enslaved people. She called it post-traumatic slave syndrome. Generations raised inside a brutal hierarchy, passing down survival adaptations, the feeling of having to prove something, the belief that the rules of worthiness apply to you different. Adaptations that made sense inside that atrocity, still running long in your DNA system after. And the third was done in animal studies. Researchers conditioned mice to fear a specific smell, and their offspring and their grandchildren's offspring and their great-grandchildren feared the smell. Never taught, never shown. It was an inheritance. And then they studied the Dutch hunger winter, the famines of the 1940s. And they found that the effects reaching into the Dutch's grandchildren. So when I say generational, I'm not being poetic. Science has the receipts, babe. Fear travels, which means, my love, some of you have been carrying and calling my anxiety, my money issues, just how I am. They never belong to you, and you've been paying interest on a debt you didn't fucking take out. So here's where it gets personal, because if nobody has ever shown you this, if you grew up living from the wound and blaming yourself for it, damn. You know what I was thinking about at the grocery store the other day when I was people watching? Every person in that store is running an inherited program, and they call it a personality. Why do I always think the worst? Why can't I rest without guilt? Why do I believe I have to work twice as hard for half as much? Why does receiving feel so unsafe? Baby, that's not a character flaw. That's an heirloom. And listen, you're either operating from your knowledge or you're operating from your pain. And I'll be honest, pain can be very motivational. Pain built businesses. Pain got degrees. Pain proved people wrong. Pretty and petty. But pain fuels and it runs out. And if you don't heal the wound, you'll repeat it in a new costume, in a new addiction, in a new relationship that feels weirdly, oddly familiar. The sabotage right at the finish line. And the wound doesn't retire just because you got successful. It just changes departments. It gets a new assignment. So how do we get out of it? This is the move from 3D to the 4D. And I want to say this is simple as possible. The 3D is living in the wound, asleep, reactive, survival, repeat Groundhog's Day. The 4D is the awakening, the awareness. The day that you catch the pattern mid-flight before you crash out and say, oh, that's not me. That's my inheritance talking. That's the only one I got. That one moment of witnessing. That's the warrior waking up. And the warrior's job is to alchemize the wound, to take all that acid, the fear, the vigilance, the proving, and neutralize it with awareness, with the practice, with the truth. Don't fight it. Don't shame it. Alchemize. And then the 5D. You see, as I was journaling on this, here's what I wrote. In the 3D, you chase life. In the 4D, you see the pattern. And in the 5-day, 5D, baby, you become the motherfucking signal. Yes, you say it, it happens. You say it, it happens. You say it, it happens. And you're broadcasting on the frequency where all of these things live all the time. You're just choosing the unworthy frequency. The problem was never you or that you were unworthy. Now write this one down. The problem is that you haven't been in alignment with your receiving energy. Chasing, yes. Receiving, no. Because the wound taught you that everything must be earned the hard way. Receiving isn't the reward. My love, it's a frequency. The cycle breakers learn to hold it. Okay, now to the men. Before I close the loop, I need to talk about the men in this community. We have a growing number of you here, and I love that you're here because it's really, really unfair how we raise our men. We hand them one stance at birth: provider, warrior, solar plex. Hold it up. And then we built a world, rightly so, knock, knock, where women can do and be providers for themselves. But nobody went back and gave the men their second stance. Nobody said your gentleness is not weakness. Your emotional intelligence is not softness betraying strength. It's strength finally being fluent. And if you were raised by a single mother, and I want you to hear this with compassion, not blame, she was carrying two roles in one nervous system. Some days there was nothing left in the tank. That wasn't a lack of love. That was arithmetic. And you coming in now, learning to be strong and soft, loving and grounded, you're not breaking the masculine code. You're actually completing it. The work is for every he, she, they, and them in the sound of my voice throughout the cosmos. The wound doesn't check pronouns, and neither does our healing. Excuse me. So here's the part I really came here to say. So just take a breath with me as I'm struggling to get mine. If you're not just carrying your great-grandmother's fears, you're also carrying her prayers, baby. Somewhere back in your line, someone stood in a kitchen or a field or a boat or a plane and prayed for a decent descendant who would get to choose. Someone who could live in their own house alone without any repercussions safely. Decide whether to marry or not, to have children or not, to rest without permission, dream without apologies. That freedom you're fumbling towards, that is the answered prayer. So being the cycle breaker isn't betraying your family, it's completing their assignment. Their fears end with us, so the prayers can finally land. Now, how do you actually do this? Because awareness alone isn't the work. Here's the math I gave my members this week. If you gave yourself one assignment a week, one journal prompt, one shadow work question, one workshop, you would get 1% better each week. That's 52% in an entire year. The problem was never your desire to grow. It's that you didn't have consistency, community, or a map. So I built all three. I knew you were coming. Manifesting miracles every single Monday morning live. I have a Monday morning motivational Zoom where we set our intention on the week. We're going to set a mantra, your practice. I teach you what's happening on the planet, in the solar system, in the cosmos, and how to align with the Schumann resonance, the heartbeat of the planet that you're on. So you're moving in the rhythm of the universe instead of fighting against it all the time. Every month there's a neuroscience audio to listen to in the car, while you're folding laundry, while you're walking on the treadmill, and every Friday night a live workshop. Neuroscience week 1, manifestation, spiritual practices, rotating all of it, workbooks, audios, every single replay, the whole community. And for your first 2 weeks, they're free. That's 2 weeks, 4 workshops, audios, everything. And after that, it's $22 a month, $5 and change a week. And here's my challenge. Commit to the next 16 weeks right now. And 16 weeks from now, if you're listening to this on the week that it goes, you'll be unrecognizable by January because we're walking wounded to warrior together, okay? Week by week until receiving feels like home. Now, the link is in my show notes, so I invite you to come and be a cycle breaker with the witnesses in our community. Come give yourself a chance. It's not going to happen overnight because you didn't get here overnight. But baby, I know you can do this. 1% a week. I want to invite you to come be your own cycle breakers. So tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to say one sentence to your lineage. Are you ready? Listen to me. Say, thank you for surviving. I'll take it from here. Thank you for surviving. I'll take it from here. Thank you for surviving. I'll take it from here because you didn't come here to repeat their story. You came to finish it and start yours. You were not born to live from the wound. You were born feral and fucking free. It's time to remember that. And it's time to be a receiver. Time to broadcast your signal. A new signal. And you don't do it in a vacuum. You don't convince yourself to show up. You make a vow to yourself to join. You add it to your calendar each week. That's the way forward. That's how you take the pen out and write a new story, not a rewrite. A fully aware, fully awakened, soul-driven, source energy-fueled self. The one that your the ancestors dreamed of, someone just like you. They don't want you to repeat and carry these wounds any more than your mother does, any more than your grandmother, your great-grandmother, or anybody else. Neither does our source. And the source of the universe, whether you want to call it God or the universe, whatever it is, the one true source isn't separate from you. It isn't against you. It hasn't left you, and it's 100% not judging you. It's asking you, where are you feeling your life? Are you coming from the wound that was created in her womb, that was passed down from one generation to another? Or are you going to create from your source? Because if you're going to create from your source, you're going to have to let that other version die, the 3D die. And sometimes that's a really big, big ask. So I created Manifesting Miracles so you could find a safe place to land, a safe place to start this journey, to tap in what's for you. You don't have to continue down this path alone. You don't have to figure it out alone anymore. We have live events. And for the first 2 weeks, you can come in and see what it would look like if you showed up for yourself. See how you feel. See if you're 1% better after 1 week, 2% after 2 weeks. And in a year, you would be a different version, 52% better. And how would your children be different? How would your life be different? How would your money be different? How would your love be different? How would your reality shift? Okay, my loves, that's it. Now, I want to see you on my next Zoom in my community. So let's take time to close like we always do. So you're going to say 2 lines 3 times. Everything is always working out for you, and everything is always working out for us. Are you ready? Everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me. Us again. Everything is always working out for us. Everything is always working out for us. Everything is always working out for us. everything, 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 everything is always working out for us, always and in all ways. My name is Michelle Juanita Lamont. And with the highest honor, I invite you to join the community that is ready to see you evolve, grow, and become the highest and the biggest version of yourself. You don't know who you are living in this scarcity. I want to introduce you to the new you. All right, my love. If there's anybody who is ready to do this, I am ready for you. Our community is waiting. We love you. We are waiting on you. It's your time. It's your time. So no matter what it was in the womb to the wound, we're going to heal it. My name is Michelle Juanita Lamont. And it's about time that you start manifesting your miracles. So go listen to another episode and another episode. But most importantly, join Manifesting Miracles right now. Don't wait. Go right there. Drop a comment and go into the show notes. Boop. There you got it. I love you. You are loved. You are known and you are needed. And I'm so, so honored to be your guide. Talk to you later.